Hey YouTube, today we have a 2007 F350. This is actually my personal truck. I was driving it, doing a couple of errands. Noticed a squealing noise coming from my front left. Had a hunch it was a bad wheel bearing. Got my wheel off and started rotating the assembly around, and I don't know if you guys can hear this on camera, but you can kind of hear the bearings making a little bit of noise in there. So I've got a new wheel bearing assembly here from Timken, and then I'm gonna install on this right here and show you guys how I do it. It's pretty quick and easy to do on these trucks. This is gonna apply for any of them. 05 at least up to 2016 is gonna be just like this. It's very similar for the 99 to 04, with the exception of the way that the locking hub assembly is. They made a change from 04 to 05 using this style. The older style just had a little clip, and then the locking assembly came out, versus this one has 3 T27 Torx screws. So the process is pretty similar. Just if you've got an older version, you'll have a C-clip instead of, or a little spring clip versus these 3 screws. Everything else pretty much the same. But here we go. We'll go ahead and walk you through taking it out. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and remove the locking hub assembly. Again, that's a T27. All right. This just kind of wiggles out. Sometimes it gets a little stuck, depending on if it's been out recently or not. There we go. Sometimes you got to pry it out a little bit. Just be careful, there is a little seal between there that you don't want to damage. You can buy a new seal, a hub seal kit for the 4x4 actuator if you need to. This truck had a front end rebuild done, everything except for the wheel bearings, about 30,000 miles ago. A little tight because of this O-ring right here, but there we go. You do not want to get dirt and debris inside this. Set it somewhere aside that it's not going to get any dirt and debris on that, because it does have grease. That is your 4x4 actuator that is supposed to lock whenever you put it in 4-wheel drive. Now the next thing is there is a snap ring inside here. That snap ring's very difficult to get out. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So there you go. You can kind of see it up there at the top. So it spreads out and then pulls out towards the outside. All right. Just use a pair of snap ring pliers and a screwdriver or a pick, and it'll help you get that out. Sometimes you can do it without the pick. There we go. Looks just like that. Now it does come with a new one with the new bearing, and that basically holds the axle shaft to the hub assembly. Now the next thing we've got to do, we need to pull the caliper bracket, and the rotor off. So for that, you're going to need 21 for the caliper bracket, and this other one is, I believe it's 16 or 17. I'll be right back with another socket. That's a 17 millimeter bolt for the caliper to the caliper bracket. All right, we have both of those bolts out. Now I use some sort of a hanger for this. Kind of pry it back a little bit to give you some room to go over the pads. there are little rivets that the pads slip over. Just like that. And I have a little S-hook that I use. Just hook it up on the spring, keep it up out of the way. Now go ahead and pull my pads off. Put them to the side so I don't get any grease, dirt, and debris in there. And then this one's going to be a 21 millimeter for the caliper bracket. Now I'm showing you guys with just like some regular hand tools for a reason, because there's a lot of times that these wheel bearings will go whenever you're out on a road trip, or whenever you're out on the road. They happen on the side of the road. It happens more often than you think whenever a wheel bearing decides to go out. Luckily, I was able to make it back to the shop, back to my house, when I noticed it, and that way I'm not changing this on the side of the road. I've done plenty of them, more than I can count that I want to say that I've done. Caliper bracket off, and now the rotor should slide off, but sometimes they're on there. Let me get me a hammer. And it does look like this one right here has gotten a little hot. So if this weren't my own truck, if it were a customer's truck, I'd probably recommend replacing the brakes and rotors too. Oh yeah. Okay, so next thing is we went to undo the electrical wire for the ABS sensor. And there's going to be a clip behind the fender liner. One clip here. You want to leave the clip, so you want to use a pick to open it up. And that's going to be an 8 millimeter. Find where I put it. There it is. It's gonna be three 8 millimeter bolts, one holding it to the knuckle, two up here to the spring perch, and then the rest are just it's the plastic pop tab that holds it down to the radius arm, keep it out of the way of the tire. Three bolts that look like that. I have those three out. There's a pop tab right here, or a clip that you just pry the whole thing out. Just as so. Next thing, you're going to want to unplug the electrical connector, which is up underneath. Just like that. And now you're ready to take the 4 nuts off of the back of the hub assembly. I believe those are 21s as well. You got four nuts that look like that. You will reuse these. Most of the new bearings do not come with new studs or new nuts. They come with new studs only. Okay, we have all 4 of the nuts out, but this right here is probably going to be on there pretty good. Take a hammer and you hit it right here. Keep in mind, you see how this dust shield is curved this way? That's to allow for the brake rotor. You can put that on backwards. I've done it myself. I see that way too many times, and you got to take the whole thing back apart just to flip this around if you put it on backwards. So make sure you get it on the right way when you put it back on. Just like that, it'll start coming out. Make sure to get your wire pulled out of here. You will get a new ABS wire with the new sensor, or with the new hub bearing, hub assembly. And then this will come off as one assembly. Just like that. Good time to inspect your vacuum seal right here. If your 4-wheel drive's not working whenever you flip the switch, this seal is one of them that does go bad. It does have to be pressed in here exactly centered up, otherwise it will not seal. But I just did these roughly 30,000 miles ago on this truck whenever I rebuilt the front end due to death wobble. So we're going to go ahead and get the new bearing out. New bearing is out. Now it does come with new studs, just like this. I like to put Loctite on the stud part that goes into here. I do not put Loctite on the where the nut goes, but I want these studs to stay put, so I do put Loctite on those. So let me go and get some red Loctite or blue Loctite, either one. I've got some red available. I can't find my blue. So we're just going to use some red today, but we will put the studs in on these and go from there. Aim you guys down here so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm just going to put a little Loctite on these right here. They are the same thread both directions. Put our cap back on the Loctite. And these don't have to be incredibly tight because it is a stud, but you do want to grab a pair of channel locks or vice grips, something, and just give these a good snug. Okay, now your sensor comes out one side of it. This, you've got a notch right here that's for the sensor area. That way you don't pinch the sensor wire, and it's also something for the wire to go up and through. So we're going to put that through there. And notice how I'm putting this on with the dust shield aiming backwards so that there's the room for the rotor. To get some cutters to cut the zip tie, and that way this will stay out of the way of the rotor. You're not gonna have to worry about it getting caught up in that. Dust shield is on. Next thing, we'll make sure this O-ring is good and new on the new hub bearing. If not, you want to get one of those and make sure that that O-ring that goes around here is good, because that's what helps the vacuum seal in that. So I'm going to turn you guys back towards the truck. And then it's just a matter of just lift it and set it back in. Make sure your sensor is to the top. Usually they go in quite easy, but there we go. It's going. Make sure your sensor wire's out of the way so you don't pinch it. And just work it on back in. There we go. You don't necessarily have to get it fully seated before the when you put the nuts on, it'll pull it in. So go ahead and get all 4 of the nuts on. Once you have all 4 of them started, just go ahead and start tightening them down. You want to use a torque wrench on this. Once you get them all the way cinched down. Don't really recommend using an impact wrench on this. I've seen these, either they get too tight and the studs snap, or they can back off while you're driving and then you end up with a hub bearing that's wobbling. I've seen it happen. And all we're doing right now is just pulling in and tightening this. Once we get to all of them fully seated, then we'll use the torque wrench for the rest. Torque them down to 133 foot-pounds. Okay, got those all snug. We've got our torque wrench here. There we go. See, we're at 133 foot-pounds. And let's go ahead and tighten these down in a cross pattern. Okay, that was the top one. And we're going to do the bottom one over here. Okay, now the top one here, and then the final one, we'll do the bottom one over there. This one's sometimes more difficult because of the length of your torque wrench. give it one more whack just to make sure. Okay, we are 133 on each of those. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go and put the brakes back on. However, I'm going to take a short break here because I need to get some lights set up. The sun's going down and it's about to be really dark over here. So I will continue the video after I get lights set up, and we'll see you guys shortly. Okay guys, I'm back. Got some lights here. So we'll take off where we left off. So we've got the hub assembly put on. We've got it torqued down. Next thing we need to do is we need to put the new snap ring on the axle shaft in there, which is what holds that in. We'll put that in, and then we'll put the locking hub back on. Get in position here. We're going to use the new one versus reusing the old one. Same thing, you just get it in here. Now I like to use a screwdriver with this to help push it on and get it in that groove. Sometimes it will push the axle through, and you've got to kind of hold it from the backside too to get the where you can get to the groove. Trying to see. If this axle is pushed backwards, nope, we're good there. Just doesn't want to go on. There it went. And here's what you guys want to see with that. So you want to see that that's fully seated in the ring. There's two little gouges or little slots in the housing. You can kind of see that that is back behind there. So you want to make sure that that's all the way in. That is what helps keep the intermediate shaft attached to the hub without it giving any play back and forth. So from now we'll put the brakes back on, or we'll put the center hub back on here, and then put the brakes back on, put the tire back on, and we should be pretty close to being done. So this right here is a spline. It's got to line up. You kind of have to twist it a little bit. It's got to line up with both the shaft and the hub. And then it's got some pins that have to line up in the extra holes where the three screws, the opposites, because it's got 6 holes there. Okay, so again, these are the T27 bolts. We're just going to reuse the old ones. Get them threaded in by hand first. These don't have to be incredibly tight or anything. I don't remember what the torque spec is. I just use the standard German specs, good and tight. It's a small bolt, so it doesn't require a whole lot of torque. Those are on. Now we will go ahead and do all of the 8mm bolts that hold the ABS wire to both the spindle and the spring perch. Okay. And we'll continue routing the ABS cable. I'm going to put the little plastic snap plug here on the radius arm and then snap it in the existing connector that's already on the radius arm. And then you'll want to plug it in to the connector that's on the back side of the fender well. Click, make sure it clips in good. Now the next thing I'm going to do before I go ahead and get all the brake stuff set up is I'm going to test to make sure that the four-wheel drive hub actuator is working. So I know that my vacuum stuff works on this truck, but what I'm going to do right now, it's in free spin mode. As you can see, I'm rotating it and the intermediate shaft is not turning. I'm going to go ahead and manually lock it, and then that starts turning. As you can see right here, this is now turning. And then I'm going to unlock it, and it may turn just a little bit, but now it freed up immediately. So that is, I just wanted to make sure that that's working before I get everything else together. So now it's just a matter of, we're going to put the brakes back on here, which we're going to start by putting the caliper bracket on. I'm going to make sure both of my pins move, which they do. And where's my rotor? Slide my rotor on. Now, in the earlier part of the video where I was talking about the dust shield being on the correct direction, if you had that on reversed, you would not be able to get the rotor on because it would be pushing into the rotor. That's why it's important to put it on correctly the first time. We'll get both of these started. This rotor is just a slip fit, so it's not, there's no set screws or anything that hold it tight against. All right, I'm not sure what happened with the camera there, but the looked like my screen went black. If I will edit some of that out. So basically I got the brake caliper back on, got these bolts tight. I'm basically ready to put the tire back on. I'm going to get the truck lifted up, get the jack stand out. But we're done with this job. This was pretty quick and simple. Unfortunately, most of the time when these fail, it'll be on the side of the road, not in your driveway, unless if you catch it on time. They usually let go in the worst times. So hope you guys found this video helpful. It's something that you can definitely do as a DIY. Doesn't have to be done by a shop. If you're somewhat competent with some wrenches, you can get this done fairly quick in an afternoon or an evening. Doesn't take that long to do. So hope you liked it. Like and subscribe. I'll continue posting videos as I come across jobs to do. Thanks again.